Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Tesla, Bitcoin, and Elon Musk. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So it's been a while since we spoke about Tesla. It has come down a significant amount from the peak at around $900, okay? But what's more interesting is in the last few days, Tesla has sort of backtracked a little bit on where they were or what they were thinking with regards to their payments and accepting payments of Bitcoin for Teslas. Now, what's interesting is they put out this message. So Elon put out this message that says, Tesla has suspended vehicle purchases using Bitcoin. We are concerned about rapidly increasing use of fossil fuels, and for Bitcoin mining and transactions, especially coal, which is the worst emission of any fuel. Cryptocurrency is a good idea on many levels, and we believe it is a promising future, but this cannot come at a great cost to the environment. And then he goes on to say Tesla will not be selling any Bitcoin, and we will intend to use it for transactions. As soon as mining transitions to more sustainable energy, we are looking at other cryptocurrencies that use less than 1% of Bitcoin's energy per transaction. Now, what I find interesting about this, and I actually responded to it. What I find interesting is one would think that before Tesla started accepting Bitcoin as payment, they would have already been aware of the energy costs. Now that doesn't even, we don't even necessarily need to get into the whole sustainable energy and all that sort of stuff, because a lot of that has been debunked, but of course it does use a decent amount of energy. However, the point is the idea of hey, we just found out, or we didn't know this a few months ago, but we can't really support Bitcoin for transactions because it's taking up so much energy. What changed between now and just a few months ago when they were buying Bitcoin? Because as far as I can tell, not a whole lot changed in the grand scheme of things, just their position on it did. So then you have to wonder, well, why did they start accepting it in the first place? Now, I will remind you that Tesla did sell about 10% of their Bitcoin that they bought just a few weeks or a few months ago. Okay, they announced it in their earnings report that was released a few weeks ago. What's interesting is, this is proof, as we discussed before, that institutions will in fact sell Bitcoin. It's not just a buying game for institutions, and I think that's been one common misconception. Now, there are some institutions, maybe like Michael Saylor with MicroStrategy, maybe they have no desire to sell Bitcoin anytime soon. But I can assure you that as more and more institutions come on board, the idea is that they would also turn a profit, and if they see a significant ROI, a lot of times they will take profits. Okay, and I'm guessing Tesla looked at the books and they said, hey, we can make a decent amount of money if we sell 10%, and that's exactly what they did. Now, of course, they played it off like they were just proving liquidity. But I don't really buy that. I don't really buy the idea that they had to prove liquidity. I think there's a lot of other ways you can prove liquidity other than just selling your Bitcoin. And if the idea was that you had to sell your Bitcoin to prove it, well, then what precluded them from just buying it right back after they sold it? And again, you don't actually need to sell it. You can also just see the order books and see if you could sell it or not. And if you could, clicking the actual sell button is a completely different matter than just proving you have liquidity based on the order books. So not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot to me that's adding up. It might seem like there's something else going on. I don't know what it is, but accepting Bitcoin as payment and then backtracking on it a few months later because the costs are high on the energy. It just doesn't seem like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like it seems like something else must be going on. Otherwise, why would they backtrack on something? They would have already had the information. They would have had access to that information a few months ago when they started accepting it. Now, what I find interesting is that he also endlessly puts out these sort of tweets where he's talking about working with Doge devs to improve system transaction efficiency, potentially promising. It's like what developers is he talking about? There hasn't been commits to that project in years, as far as I can tell. And unless they're doing something else that we don't know about, I don't really fully understand this tweet either. But what's also an interesting tweet that he put out, if you scroll down to below this one, where he doesn't like Bitcoin as a payment method because of the cost, just a couple tweets below, he's asking people if they want Tesla to accept Doge, which is also a proof of work cryptocurrency. Now, of course, the costs aren't, the fees aren't nearly as high. Also, the demand, I mean, the demand is completely different for Doge than it is for Bitcoin. But it just, to me, it just seems like some weird stuff is going on, like, you know, promoting Doge, which at the end of the day is a meme coin. And again, I've argued before that you can play the Doge game. You know, no one's going to necessarily argue with you if you want to play the Doge game. If you look at the Doge USD valuation, for instance, you know, you can see that it does go through phases where it makes these moves. This is not, I mean, it might seem like it is, but this is actually not the first time that Doge has made significant moves. There was also a time back in 2017 where it went up by about 11,000%. And then this move from, if we take we just measured this one from where it started here. So if we measure this one from where it started, it was a higher return so far, about 27,000%. But these moves are not necessarily Dogecoin's first rodeo. I mean, it has seen crazy moves in the past. Of course, this one is a little bit more ridiculous than most, but it makes sense when you have the CEO of one of the most hotly discussed companies in the world, who's also basically the richest man in the world, or close to it. I can't remember exactly where he stands at the current time, because it also depends on Tesla stock. So one of the richest men in the world, at least. When you have the richest man or one of the richest men in the world promoting Doge and you know, endlessly saying things like that, while also backtracking on Bitcoin, which is, you know, has a much higher reputation, or much better reputation than Dogecoin in terms of being a store of value and not bleeding nearly as much. Look at this bleed by Dogecoin over here. This was a 94% bleed, and this happened as late as 2018 and 2019. My guess is at some point is we're going to come back down with Doge. But again, I've been saying that for a while, so who really knows? It's hard to know how long this saga will continue. And another thing too that's interesting is, you know, Dogecoin, there's more printed every single week. So just the amount of buying pressure that needs to be there just to offset the new coins minted that might be sold by the miners, the buying pressure needs to be somewhat significant just to keep the price at stable, right? Just to keep the price stable. So anyways, you have all that. You have this saga of Elon promoting Doge all the time, sort of backtracking on Bitcoin, you know, buying Bitcoin, adding Bitcoin to his Twitter bio, selling 10% of the Bitcoin for Tesla, and then saying, hey, we're no longer going to accept it as payment. Now, I'm not saying, the intentions, but optically, I feel like that looks pretty bad. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was some type of regulation coming. Personally, I would not be surprised if there's some type of regulation coming. With that said, you know, the actual Tesla stock doesn't look like the worst spot in the world right now, to me. If we look at where we currently are, we're in this area that we have found support at in the past, okay? We actually came back down. We spent some time at it right here. We came down to it here back in March of 2021. We came down to it again in late March. Now we're back to it again. So the idea is this going to be a turnaround point? And are people unnecessarily selling their Tesla stock because of the recent Bitcoin news related to Tesla? Not only with them selling it, but also with them no longer accepting it as payment. Or is it only getting started, or are we going to come a lot lower? Obviously, I can't tell you the exact answer to that. It seems like there's at least a reasonable chance that we bounce up and and go higher in the short term based on where we've bounced before a few different times. Currently, the valuation of Tesla is at around $584. The all-time high again is about $900, meaning the distance between where we currently are and the prior all-time high would be approximately 54%. So the way I see it with Bitcoin is that there's a hell of a lot of more institutions that need to come on board. And you have companies like Tesla, which are, they're accepting it as payment one day and then they're not the next day because of some ridiculous reason that they would have already had that reason a few months ago when they started accepting it. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but hopefully it doesn't dissuade new institutional investors from coming on board and getting their feet wet with Bitcoin. And I really don't think it will. I just think that it sort of spooked the market. And not only did it spook Bitcoin, but that it also spooked Tesla. Because I mean, if you look at the last week for Tesla, the valuation is down about 13%. Okay, this is a pretty bad week for Tesla. We had another 11.5% drop there and a 13.5% drop there. We're currently looking at around 13%. I think the question now is are we going to get another bounce here, or is this a dead cat bounce, right? Like a major blow off top, we come down, a dead cat bounce, and then we go lower. Is that where we currently are with Tesla, or are we just going to hold the line and continue back up? Obviously, you can hedge your bets based on where you think it's going to go. But anyways, hopefully this video has been informative. It took a little bit of a different turn than we normally do. I wanted to discuss what's going on in the crypto world because it was pretty prevalent what happened with Tesla and them no longer accepting Bitcoin as payment. Obviously, there's going to be some fallout from that, especially since it seems like they're just flip-flopping every couple months after buying and selling Bitcoin. But we'll see where things go, and it seems like things are unfolding every single day on crypto Twitter. By the way, make sure you guys follow me on Twitter. You can find a link to that in the description below. Thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Give the video a thumbs up. I'll see you next time. Bye.